Hey there, Star Wars fans. Jonesy the Mandalorian here with another entry in the Hyperspace Database. Today I'm going to be answering the burning question: what were the other 65 contingency orders of the Grand Army of the Republic? The contingency orders of the Grand Army of the Republic were in place to allow clone troopers to react to situations with speed and efficiency, without having to try to remember what the order was. Interestingly, if there were clone troopers who were found to be violating these orders, they'd be stripped of their ranks and were even subject to execution. Talk about the ultimate punishment. Overall, there were 150 contingency orders that each clone trooper was made to memorize, but unfortunately we were only given 5 of them in printed media. The orders that we are aware of come from several different sources, but most of them come from the now Legends Republic Commando novels. Here are the orders that we know of. Order number 4. In the event of the Supreme Commander, or Chancellor, being incapacitated, overall GAR command shall fall to the Vice Chair of the Senate, until a successor is appointed or an alternative authority identified, as outlined in Section 6. This one is interesting because it outlines what would happen in case the Chancellor is somehow incapacitated, which begs the question, was Palpatine allowing for a contingency where he might have been removed from the picture? Or maybe was this order in place to distract the general populace to what Palpatine's motivations really were? The Vice Chair of the Senate at that time was Mas Amedda, who was pretty solidly in the Chancellor's pocket, so maybe things wouldn't have changed all that much, and Palpatine would have done more from the shadows than before. Order number 5. Order number 5 states that in the event of the Supreme Commander or Chancellor being declared unfit to issue orders, as defined in Section 6, the Chief of Defense Staff shall assume GAR command and form a strategic cell of senior officers, until a successor is appointed or alternative authority identified. This order is even more interesting because of the implications it would have if the shoe were on the other foot. This kind of happened when Mace Windu went with the other Jedi Masters to try to arrest Palpatine because they thought he was a Sith Lord. But no clone troopers were present at the time, and who gets to deem that the Chancellor is unfit to issue orders at that time? It is defined in Section 6, but sadly we don't know who that power is given to. Most likely it just circled back somehow to the Chancellor and wouldn't get anywhere anyway, but it probably was worded more articulately than that. Order number 37. Order 37 allows capture of a single wanted individual through the mass arrest and threatened execution of a civilian population. Follow-up directives include scenarios for body disposal of civilian casualties and suppression of communications. This order really foreshadowed the brutality of the Empire that would come later, as troopers were ordered to threaten the civilian population with torture and even execution should they choose to withhold a prisoner. The fact that the follow-up directives were very specific about body disposal lent to the fact that these orders could easily end up getting bloody. Order 65. Order 65 says, in the event of either a majority in the Senate declaring the Supreme Commander or Chancellor to be unfit to issue orders, or the Security Council declaring him to be unfit to issue orders, and an authenticated order being received by the GAR, commanders shall be authorized to detain the Supreme Commander, with lethal force if necessary, and command of the GAR shall fall to the acting Chancellor, until a successor is appointed or alternative authority identified as outlined in Section 6, Paragraph 4. This order was kind of the opposite of Order 66, which is probably why they were so close to each other. Stating what to do in the event that the Chancellor was deemed unfit to issue orders, the crazy part about this is that clone troopers were authorized to use lethal force to remove the Chancellor. It is highly unlikely that Palpatine would allow anyone with any thoughts of passing a motion like this to live, and the hidden threat of it probably kept several senators in line against traitorous thoughts. This was covered to some extent in the Clone Wars TV show when a clone's inhibitor chip accidentally malfunctioned, and Palpatine sets the clone up as insane to cover his tracks. If you want to know more, watch the first arc of the Clone Wars 6th season. Order 66. We are all familiar with Order 66, but here it is in its official form. In the event of Jedi officers acting against the interests of the Republic, and after receiving specific orders verified as coming directly from the Supreme Commander or Chancellor, GAR commanders will remove those officers by lethal force, and command of the GAR will revert to the Supreme Commander or Chancellor until a new command structure is established. You can see how this order has several different flaws with it. Acting against the interests of the Republic? Who gets to decide that? The Supreme Chancellor is the only one that can make this decision, no accountability? Lethal force only, no chance of capture or detainment? and this order once given can't be taken back. The results of this order were clearly meant to not only oust the Jedi from any position of influence in the Republic, but also to eradicate them completely by execution. It is interesting that this order flew under the radar as long as it did, though it was nearly discovered by the Jedi and their clone commanders during the Clone Wars 6th season. Seriously, go watch it. The effects of this order would spell the doom of the Jedi Order, though some would survive to carry on the legacy of the Jedi in secret. The main differences between the Disney canon and Legends was that this order in Legends was learned at birth and could be disobeyed, though the clone troopers were bred to be loyal, and this would be extremely difficult to do. In the canon, the order activated a chip in the clone's brain that would force them to carry it out, making sure that the clones would obey. It is interesting to see the differences between the canon and the Legends interpretation of this order, whether it was a voluntary thing that was taught or whether it was implanted into the clone's brain and they were forced to do it. Those are all of the main orders that we were aware of, but there were suspected to be more orders that were established after the rise of the Empire to prevent a coup from ever happening from the inside. Want to know more secret history and trivia about Star Wars ships, alien species, technology, and more? Be sure to check out my channel, be sure to check out my other videos, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and the bell to be notified every time I publish a new video. Be sure to select all notifications there, and you can follow the show on social media for more news and channel updates. If you like what I do, consider heading over to my Patreon to support me there, because that would be really appreciated. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you thought of this and just chat with me, because I'd love to talk to you guys too. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.